What's up, everybody? Mickey Gaminol here, and welcome to one of the first lessons of my new ASVAB course. Today, we are talking about mindset. Now, most tutors aren't going to spend time talking about mindset, but for me, mindset's super duper important. The reason for this is anything that you've ever accomplished in life, you used to be one way and then you were different, right? And a lot of people try to hold on to things they don't ever want to change. And I don't blame them. Like a lot of us like who we are and there's no reason to change. But if you're trying to do better at math or get better at English, part of that is becoming a different person. You can't be someone who's always bad at math. My best example, and something I hear all the time from students, is I suck at dividing or I suck at fractions. Those two examples are really easy. I hear so many students always say, oh, I'm just bad at fractions. Oh, I'm just bad at dividing. And they say it over and over again. And every single time I try to teach them something new, they say it one more time. Oh, I get it. I see now. I've always been bad at fractions. And it's like, gosh, you really just said something positive and then followed it up with something negative, which discounted what you just said. And it's really hard to learn that way. If you say, I'm really bad at something every time you do it, it's hard to get better. It's really hard to get better. Even for me as a snowboard instructor, I'm not the best snowboarder in the world, but I try to get better. And when I'm trying to learn and get better at snowboarding, and when I'm trying to teach my students to get better at snowboarding, truthfully, a lot of it's a mental hurdle. Like you kind of have to believe that you're good at it. Or at the very least, believe that you're getting better at it. So that's what these mindset worksheets are designed to help you do. You want to kind of have a goal and keep that in mind. There's a couple things about the why and everything like that. So we'll go through these real quick, but go ahead. If you feel like your mindset's already good and you already know that you have to get good at the ASVAB and you already have a good reason for it and everything like that, then you may be able to skip over this one. But this one I think is a really good one for just figuring out where you are now versus where you want to be. And as soon as you have that kind of dialed in, everything else kind of flows into place. If you have that end point position of where you're trying to go, in OCS, we call it just backwards planning. You can backwards plan to where you are and then work towards that end goal. So a couple of these worksheets are going to talk about mindset, health, routines, finance, and balance. You can kind of cut these in half. You could think of like finance. You could be like, sorry, my marker's a little big. So with finance, you could be like, now, well, you could be like, yeah, now and then. So now we'll say you make $18 an hour, something like that. And then you plan to make $12 an hour, right? And you're thinking, well, that's not great for military, but a lot of times you will make that $12 an hour and then you get like BAH. And so there are benefits to the finance of why you're going to get better at ASVAB, right? And so then can be even further down when you're retiring, right? 20 years from now, you could be making your highest 3 years of rank and not working at all. And if right now you're not working and not making any money, and 20 years from now you're not working and you're making almost as much money as you've ever made, you can see the then, the now versus where you want to be, and you can start to backward plan there. Some routines that you might implement is like study, right? Study daily. Hell, study hourly. If you have a job that's pretty loose, you can actually study every hour. You can just set a timer and spend 5 minutes on flashcards every hour, and you're going to get better that way. Same with health. A really big deal for the Army is the ACFT. The Marines, you're going to have your own workout regimen and all that. And then mindset, right? Soldier's mindset, you're going to get all of that at basic training, but it's good to start implementing that now. Worksheet number 2, why do you feel called to do this? So a lot of people will put something like family up here. I like that. I think family, especially if you have kids or if you have little brothers and sisters and you want to be that role model, that's great. Maybe you want to do it for tradition. And then, of course, one of my favorites is to serve. I served in Peace Corps. I've served in AmeriCorps. I'm a big fan of community service. So serving is a great reason to join the military because you want to serve. And so that's totally fine. So figure out what the why is. It doesn't have to be one word. It can be a full sentence. It could be 3 paragraphs. Whatever your reason is for why you want to go for this, try to figure that out. Who are you doing this for? That could be family, that kind of thing. What happens if you fail and you can't reach this vision? So try to think of the plan B. Like if you don't find yourself hitting this goal, what will you do as plan B? Now, some people will say this is having like, as long as you have a plan B, you'll never succeed. A lot of people say like you have to burn the ships, which means forget about any other option except for what you're trying to do. And that can be good, but also looking and seeing, well, if I don't do this, I'm going to continue with this job that I hate and I'm going to be stuck doing blah, 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 blah. That can be a good plan B as well, because it's going to motivate you to pursue that plan A. What motivates you? So figure this out. If it's cookies, like that's cool. Give yourself a cookie after every study session. Not too many cookies because you do have to still get into the military, but figure out what motivates you and try to use that, right? Try to mentally game it so that you get rewarded for good behavior. Just like you would with a pet, sometimes you got to treat yourself like that in order to get better. And then what happens when you succeed, right? So this is like my favorite part when you start thinking about what is the best case scenario? Oh, I'm here, I'm a squad leader, my soldiers look up to me, they believe in what I say, I can give out orders, and they know that I'm only telling them stuff that I'd be willing to do myself. I'm one of those good leaders, da 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 da. So figure out what happens when you succeed. Number 3, what is it you really want from this program? So specifically within this class, figure that out and let me know, like within this ASVAB tutoring stuff, what are you trying to get out of it? Are you trying to get a 46 ASVAB score? Are you trying to just be a little more confident in math? Are you trying to raise your GT or your ACFT? What are you trying to get out of it? So figure out what that is and be very clear. So that way we can actually aim at something and shoot for that goal. Where do you see yourself going in the next 90 days? How do you plan on spending the next 3 months? This class is just going to be about 5 weeks, but you want to continue to build those study habits in just in case you need that time, because joining the military takes a long time. It took me almost a year to get in. So just be ready for that. So where do you see yourself going in 90 days? Again, this is all about having that target. Think about the next 12 months. What have you accomplished? So for many of you, 12 months from now, you're already in the military, right? Maybe you're already done with AIT. Maybe you're getting that first credential. Maybe you're getting a bachelor's degree in psychology. What are you trying to do 12 months from now? And be as clear as you can. And what does that look like when your military career is successful? What can you do? How do you feel? So maybe 10, 20 years down the road, where do you want to be? And think about the feelings that will come with that. This is a great one. All right. Lastly, we outlined success in basic training. Mental toughness is considered the most valuable skill in all of military training. What does mental toughness look like to you? So figure out what that means and write it here. What will you do to grow this skill? What habits will instill that mental toughness? And what happens as a result of your mental toughness? What happens as a result if you don't get tougher? So this one you could split tough, untough. And so if you're tough, you might succeed. You might get confident. If you're untough, you might fail. And you might lose confidence. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind there. You want to build mental toughness. A lot of times with you guys, though, with students who are trying to pass the ASVAB, what I see is, and this is kids, adults, everywhere in between, you guys will beat yourselves up because you don't know basic math. And you're so frustrated because you should have learned it in 6th grade, or you should have learned it in 10th grade, and you're really upset about it. That is not mental toughness. Beating yourself up over and over again does not count as mental toughness. What you want to be focused on is your success. Tough people try to, they'll work on themselves and they'll be hard on themselves, but they're going to look at that silver lining and say, today I really messed up on every single fraction question, but I spent an hour learning fractions. And even if I still don't get it 100%, I have 1 hour in the books, 1 more hour of doing hard things and stretching my mind in a way that is not used to being stretched. and that's 1 hour closer to reaching my goal. So keep that in mind, especially on this mental toughness one. Truthfully, worksheet 3 is probably my favorite because this helps you to figure out what your goal is. One of my biggest issues in my life is oftentimes I don't have a direction. I'm not aiming at something. I'm just existing. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. You're just kind of floating through life and doing whatever comes next, watching TV, eating whatever, all that kind of thing. And that happens. That happens to all of us. And that happens to me a lot. And truthfully, I know that if I spent more time being intentional and setting my sights on a goal, I'd be getting way more done. And the same is true probably for you. So spend some time working on these worksheets. If you have a question that you think would go well with these mindset worksheets, definitely let me know. If you don't like this mindset stuff, screw it. We're going to get into math, English, science. We'll get plenty of real hard skills, practice, technical skills. But for now, starting with a good mindset just makes a big difference for a lot of what you do. So if all you want to do is just kind of stretch and loosen up and be like, all right, I'm ready to learn some stuff, that's fine. Or if you really want to do a deep dive into why am I doing this? What happens if it doesn't work out? What happens if it does? Do I really believe in myself? Why don't I believe in myself? What's my generational trauma? Like, however deep you want to go, just use this mindset time to really reflect on where you're trying to go, where you are, and then we'll start bridging that gap in the next videos. Sweet. I'll see you guys soon.